Back with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Sir, I watched the fight this summer with great interest, and it didn't take me very long to figure out. I watched the events unfold, and within just a couple of days, and I'm a rodeo clown, but it took me a couple of days to go, wait a minute, this is all about misdirection. This is all about Iran. And for you to lose that war was pretty significant, and I don't know if you perceive it as a loss, but it certainly was a shift of perception by the rest of the world. You seem to be the drive them all the way back to Saudi Arabia kind of act. Did you perceive that as less than stellar?
It certainly wasn't a victory. I think I think basically the war was not won because we lacked a strategy, and the strategy is a very simple one. We faced about 5,000 Hezbollah, which are really Iranian forward infantry with missiles. When you, in a war, in order to win, you take overwhelming force with firepower and mobility. You move very quickly at the enemy's weakest point. That's basically how you win wars. And in our case, we went with almost the same number of troops, against right into their gun sights. Not smart. We should have come from the behind, if you will, with 10 times the force.
So you would say that it was a lack of strategy. It wasn't you're catching our politically correct disease? You're not fighting a war for media or anything like that?
I think the decisions, the strategic decisions were flawed. No, the people fought, even under bad strategy. The Israeli soldiers fought
I don't mean
very well.
Yeah. I don't mean that. I mean...
And ultimately defeated any Hezbollah they were there. But in order to crush an enemy, you have to find his weak point and apply maximum force. And that wasn't done. And there's a whole range of commissions now examining in Israel why it wasn't done. But I think it was basically a problem of strategy and leadership.
Can either of us win against a foe that understands how to use media, how to manipulate it?
Yes, we can win. Of course we can win. We could have won that war, and the next time they do it, you know, if I have anything to do with it, I'm sure I can guarantee you that the results will be different. And I think the people in Israel have that power. The soldiers have that power. They have that fighting spirit and ability. But even the best of soldiers need to have the right guidance, the right direction. So I wouldn't give up on the free societies. But we always learn. In history, we see that the free societies, they always get it at the end. But the question is, do they need what Churchill called a jarring gong of self-preservation? Do you sort of have to be woken up from your stupor, from your sleep, to realize that you've got a new Hitler around the block and you have to take action? Do you let him first demolish a few countries and a few millions of peoples? I hope not. I hope that we have the ability to learn something from history. And certainly, I think that we're facing a juncture of history unlike any other, where primitive religious creeds are trying to acquire the weapons of mass death. That has never happened before, because nuclear weapons have been around only for half a century. And now, the most primitive creed on Earth is trying to get the most advanced weapons on Earth. And we better wake up. We better hear the jarring gong of self-preservation and act to preserve our lives, our cities, our children, our civilization in time.
What is a sign that people can recognize here? What is it that the first sign that you said back in Israel in the day, and you went, oh boy, that's not good. What is the sign that may be just beginning to hit over here, that people can recognize over here and say, oh, wait a minute, I have noticed that. Do you remember the first signs you saw over in Israel?
I think the most important thing to understand is that, you know, the best sign of how dangerous things are? That the president of Iran is not even trying to fake it. You know, normally, if he wasn't as fanatic as he is, he'd say, well, you know, yeah, I think we could recognize Israel if it made the right concessions to the Palestinians. He'd play along. He'd play the game. He'd say, we're not really developing nuclear weapons. We just want nuclear energy for peace. You know, he'd say all that. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying, and listen to him carefully, he's saying, we're going to wipe Israel off the map. The Holocaust didn't happen. America's the great Satan. Iran will have the power to reshape history. Now, a normal person would not say that. An insane person says that. In the 1930s, an insane person wrote in a book called Mein Kampf, My Struggle. his name was Adolf Hitler, he said exactly what he would do. He was stark, raving mad. But he communicated. You ask for a sign? That was a sign. 300 pages of signs, okay? Ahmadinejad every day is writing a page. He's saying what he's going to do. That's the best sign. That tells you that there's a fanaticism at work here, which is not even calculating. He's just going to do it. And let's not enable him to do it. Let's stop him.
It is interesting to me that Mein Kampf is my struggle. Jihad is my struggle. Back in a moment. Back with Benjamin Netanyahu. In the last break, you said that Islam is the most primitive religion.
I didn't say that.
You didn't say that?
No. I said that militant Islam is a primitive religion.
How much of
most Muslims are not part of this crazy creed.
Okay.
You know, just like you have crazy creeds and crazy cults in Christianity or in Judaism, you can have people who are crazy. The difference here is that here you have a crazy cult that is a small percentage, but these are very large numbers when you talk about 1 billion people. And it's very violent. It's very violent, and it may get its hands on nuclear weapons. That's the reason we're discussing it.
All right, only time for one email here. It says, this is from Michelle in Ohio. She says, I am just an average middle-class mom and wife in America. What can I do to fight this extremist terrorism? I try to stay informed by listening to Glenn's show and reading, but I feel helpless. So many Americans feel this way. They don't know what to do.
Well, they shouldn't feel helpless because they are... The difference between this, what's happening now in the 1930s, is that at the time America was an isolationist power and didn't operate on the world stage. So as we were facing the tremendous fanaticism and destructive power of Hitler, there was no one to face up to him. France and Britain at the time did not have the kind of leadership or the kind of power to stop him. The fortunate thing is that in the first half of the 20th century, the dominant power in the world is the United States, and citizens like the one that wrote in do have power. You have representatives, you have a voice, you have internet, and you have congressmen and senators. Make your views known. If citizens in a free society rise up, in a society like America rise up and they say, we want to act in time while action can be effective, while the danger can be stopped before it gets out of hand, then America will act. And in that sense, I have the confidence that we live in a different age because we've already witnessed the horrors of the previous century, and we know that we have to stop it. And that's why it fills me with hope that action is possible.
We are up against the clock here. I've only got 15 seconds, but I want to thank you, sir, and thank you for joining us for this hour, and thank you for your service to not only your country, but I believe the rest of the world as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.